Greetings, everyone. This is the Hipster Snek, and today, for your entertainment, I am going to take up one of my dear Tomo Bros on his issued challenge. We played through the arcade game of Turtles in Time, and at the time, he dared me to one credit clear it, which I told him was not going to happen. So then, it was brought to my attention that I had the option of doing the Super Nintendo game. So I said, fine. I'll see your challenge, and I'll even do it by myself. Now, the door is open. If the guys want to drop in and make fun of me or watch as we go, I have deliberately left it open so that they can do so. Can I do my intro spiel without you rushing me, please? Thank you. Let's get to it. So, obviously, I'm Leonardo, because I like Leo. This is April O'Neil reporting. Nothing really happens on that island apart from tourist destinations. Like, why would Krang want to steal the statue? Like, Shredder's Revenge kind of touches on that, but this game never really does. Alright. I have to get used to the gameplay style again because it's been a hot minute. Thankfully, I'm not in time trial mode. I don't hate myself quite that much. Couldn't see the shadow. Nicely done, me. Hey! See, that was the thing about old school beat-em-ups that I never really liked, is that you could knock the enemy off the screen, and then they would basically just get a free hit on you, because there's nothing you can do once they're there. Alright. Might as well take it. I've taken a lot of unnecessary damage. Now, mind you, I am on hard mode, which is the only way you can get the full ending of the game, because otherwise the game is just like, why aren't you playing on hard mode? And I don't know, I'm not sure I'm wild about that kind of attitude. I also don't like the attitude that every game needs an easy mode, because I don't think that's true either. Like, your game has a difficulty select, that's cool, but at the same time, I don't really feel it's one of those mandatory things. Now, button configuration is mandatory, not optional. Do not make a game that doesn't have button configuration. If you can't do it, don't make the game. I'm sorry, that is one of the things that irritates me to no end. Oh, that was close. Ah, you guys almost had me there. I spent a lot of hours in my childhood mastering this game. Ah. Now, I don't know how true it was in the arcade port, but in the Super Nintendo version, the Turtles actually had slightly different stats. Leo was the all-rounder, Michelangelo had the highest attack, Donatello had the highest range with the lowest speed, and Raphael was the fastest turtle. Later Turtle game reversed Michelangelo and Raphael. Terminate the Turtles. Yes, you're very cute with your alliterative appeal. It's actually a little more predictable than in the arcade version, where he was a lot more erratic. It's also, I think, one of only 2 bosses in the game that give you a pizza at the boss room. So I'm going to try to hold on to it as long as possible. Back. Come on. Now, Leo's always been my favorite turtle. So, mechanically, the fact that he's just well-rounded just kind of works to my particular playstyle anyway. Yep, and remember, the attacks in this game are more sophisticated than a lot of other beat-em-ups at the time were. If you attack while in the fastest part of your ascent, you'll do the jump kick, which is really good for this fight in particular. If you attack more while you're descending, you'll do your weapon attack, which is, I think, the best for overall damage. There's also a way to do the drop kick, which I'm not really great at performing. If I do it by accident, so I'm not going to try to demonstrate that. But there was also the front flip. If you dash and hit jump, you'll do a flip, and then you can go into a slide attack if you attack out of that animation. There's a lot of sophistication to this game, and the game basically doesn't tell you any of it. I discovered most of it via trial and error myself. Glorious Mode 7 effects. When I was a kid, I thought that was like the coolest thing ever. Like, oh man, they can throw them at the screen? That's so crazy! No other game can do that. Actually, the way they kind of emulated that 3D effect is just really interesting, I think. Like, trying to take some very clever workarounds to make that work the way it does. And the arcade mode, you always had back attack on, which sometimes meant that you would end up attacking someone you didn't really mean to at the particular moment, but it's actually pretty helpful to have it turned on, so... But if you want more classic kind of beat-em-up feel, turning it off is almost just mandatory. You have to get good at that throw, too. There's a boss that depends on it. Oh yeah, the different colors do matter. The different foot soldiers indicate what weapons and attacks they'll use based on the color of their uniforms. The blue guys usually use swords or axes, the orange guys usually use some kind of projectile or thrown weapon. The pink guys don't usually use any weapons, and there's an off-pink one that always uses the tonfa, which are awful, which you will soon see. I hate roadkill Rodneys. Those guys are some of the most annoying enemies to deal with. Okay. Oh yeah, and every 200 points is an extra life. And certain ways of defeating enemies will get you more points. Like, the throw actually is, I think, a bit more than a regular... Yeah, it's 3 points for a throw. And, like, 2 points for a slam. And I think it's just 1 point if you just defeat them regularly. I'm gonna mangle you green slime balls. You gotta be careful with him because he'll try to do this. The laser gun one can be kind of annoying to deal with up until you realize there's a small window where if you're standing underneath him, where you can kind of just catch him off guard and shove him away from the wall. Greatly reduces his threat level, though he immediately jumps away if you catch him during that bit. Metalhead's pretty easy to deal with if you just have basic pattern recognition. Right, now we're going into Sewer Surfing, which was not a bonus level in the original arcade game, but is in this one. And funny enough, it does not show the silhouette of a boss. It just shows the silhouette of a random enemy for some reason. Also, most enemies will be just dispatched in just one hit. Hey. The blue guys will try to jump at you, which makes them a little bit more threatening because they can sometimes get past your initial swing. Sometimes they also just kind of go past you anyway, so it kind of undermines their approach. Also, if they've already jumped at you, they won't try jumping again. You want to be a little bit closer to the front. Oops. Those spike things will only catch you if you're in certain spots. The exact placement is a little finicky at times. Yeah, the pizza monsters. A very goofy plot point from like a Season 2 episode, I believe it is. And And they only showed up once, but they show up in like a lot of Turtles games. I guess the game developers just thought they were funny or just really wanted to include Xenomorphs. Given how weird the Mirage comics go, Xenomorphs would not be the craziest thing the Turtles ever encountered. You get a breakdown of our points, and again, you just get some bonus points for having destroyed a bunch of monsters and collected pizzas. It's not much of anything, really. Boss time! That's the Rat King. First the sewers, then the world. I don't know if the Rat King ever got an explanation for like what his deal was in the 87 series. The thing that makes this fight a little annoying is if you're too high, then you get caught by his missiles. If you're too, like, towards the center, then you'll end up being caught by his laser gun. The best thing to do is to just try to kill him as fast as possible, and try to stand between where the torpedo is on the north part of it, and just above the laser gun in the center of it. Generally not that big a threat, but it can be super frustrating when you're a little kid and you're just trying to dodge stuff, so you're afraid to take any hits.
Technodrome, let's kick shout.
Technically, that's a silhouette of a mid-boss, so let's get to it. I hate roadkill Rodneys. Honestly, one of the best ways of dispatching them is to grab a foot soldier and hope you can do exactly that. I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to pull it off, but it's a quick way of just smashing through them, because they take a ton of hits, and they're really annoying because they're super fast and agile. Mausers. Small targets, but thankfully very little health. That slam attack is so good. In the arcade mode, you usually only slam them once or twice. You don't usually get as many hits as you can in this one. Another fun bit of trivia is, this is the first Turtles game done by Konami that didn't use the original 1987 theme song as the game's theme song. They actually used Pizza Power from the Coming Out of Our Shells live-action tour. Now we're getting to the Tonfa guys, which means the general difficulty is just going to go up from here. The Tonfa guys hold a defensive stance, and they can only be broken through it if you hit them from behind or if you use the shoulder rush. So we're going to want to do this now, because we're about to have a whole bunch of them. I thought more of those Tonfa guys came in through here. I set it to hard mode, so I thought maybe I'm misremembering. It's whatever. Masters say have fun. The biggest thing to watch out for these guys is they have a charge attack, and it's really hard to dodge it. Razor usually gives you a little bit of a warning, but Toka really doesn't. Oh boy, they're doing this. They don't do this attack very often, in my estimation. That's actually pretty uncommon. You can play through the game and never see them do that attack at all. I think they have some other combo attacks they can end up doing, but again, they don't do them that much. Here it comes. Dang it, I was hoping I could interrupt them and not get hit in the process. You can get rid of one of them, things just become so much easier. Okay, good. Yeah, Toka's charge attack is very annoying. You don't want to get too close to that door, because that will zap you if you're, like, right up... Ah! I was too low to hit him with my weapon, but he was not high enough to not hit me with his attack. I'm trying to play a little conservatively, but honestly, I think maybe fighting more aggressively might have been better there. Heh, almost ran right into it. Now the obligatory elevator sequence, mandatory for every beat-em-up. And a fun personal story about this game, and part of the reason why I hold this game in such high esteem, is it was one of the few games that I could get my mom to play with me when I was a kid. Now, there were other games, obviously, but this was one of the few, and really, like, the other big one was, like, Astro Warrior on the Master System, which is just like a one-button space shooter, and a pinball game, Fantasy Pinball Behind the Mask for the Super Nintendo. And it wasn't until Wii Fit that there was another one that she actively played a whole lot. So, you know, a little bit of a nostalgic touch, I'll be honest. Yeah, these Tonfa guys are definitely annoying, and they don't spawn very much if you're on normal or easy mode. If they have their guard down, the final step of your attack and your rush attack will break their guard. That's actually something that's going to make this next boss super frustrating if you're not already prepared for it. Tonight I dine on turtle soup. Because every single foot soldier here uses a Tonfa. Why? Because that's hard mode. I'm having a little difficulty getting my manual dash to work. Okay, gotta get back with it. Definitely not gonna one-credit clear it if I can't get this back under control. Okay, there we go. First hit. Now, this is the boss that's the easiest to gauge their health. 3 hits is 1 health bar, 4 hits is the second health bar, 3 hits is the final health bar. The easiest thing to do is to shoulder check them, take like a step forward, and then hit the attack button. Generally, that's enough to get the throw to execute pretty consistently. And I admit that's kind of a vague set of directions, but it's more by feel than by, wow, I'm being destroyed. But the thing that kind of sucks about this fight, and I think you can see what I'm talking about, is you can't see half the field. And those Mode 7 attacks that he has just kind of come at you without any warning. I was hoping I could clear it without losing my life, but I did anyway. And this is probably one of those times the back attack probably makes this harder than it needs to be, but whatever, we won. Still doing pretty okay, all told. My patience is wearing thin. I'm banishing you to a time warp, from which you will never return. And off we go. Another bit of trivia is the third Ninja Turtles movie was not ever subtitled Turtles in Time. That was a retroactive application of the subtitle by fans. Also, we like to prefer to pretend that the third movie never happened. Same thing we do with the Michael Bay films, and the upcoming film, because that's also looks genuinely awful. I believe on easy mode, those pterodactyl things do not drop those explosive rocks. They literally just carry them off the screen, and you're just kind of left wondering what the point of that encounter was. Oh, I know that.
What up?
Not bad. I'm about, just got the prehistoric Turtlesaurus. And I've only died twice, so far so good.
What are your self-imposed stipulations on this one?
I had to do it on hard, and if having to continue is essentially the same as it's a hard game over.
Okay. So you can actually die, you're not actually gonna,
yeah. Lives are fine, continues are not.
Okay. Alright, I wasn't sure, how hardcore you were gonna do that. Did you actually explain why
I mentioned it because it came up in our conversation when we were doing the arcade version together, and yeah, Master Ditaku was like, "Oh, you should one-credit clear this," and I'm like, "I'm not doing that for the arcade version of the game."
Okay,
rocked.
It's not just that. There's actually kind of a long-running gag as to why that is. I wasn't sure if you had gone into that. That's why I asked.
Oh no, I had not.
Okay, you want me to go into that?
Yeah, sure. Why not?
Okay. Well, I don't know if everyone knows, but I'm a writer. I write things. Occasionally they are read. And with an ongoing story I have, kind of, the funny thing is the professor here um, is not only is kind of my alpha reader, but he also is kind of a sounding board, which is funny because like he also is a writer. It's just he never actually finishes anything.
Well, a lot of that is... I'm going to blame it on the fact that I have the channel now, and ignore the fact that I have not had that excuse for the entirety of my writing career.
Well, I mean, you are published, but it's one of those things, much like my own writing, it's going to be a case of, you can find it, but, you'll have to find it first. I left everything out there somewhere at a specific location.
And I'm not telling you anything about it.
Yeah, you're going to have to use your own detective skills to find it out. And if you do, congratulations, you will earn a trophy made out of pizza.
I will send you a pizza trophy.
Yes. But anyways, more back to the point. One of the kind of ongoing things is the fact that the professor likes adding in really, really, really goofy references.
That I do.
To my main character. And so, in one of the later books, my main character basically gets taken out of the picture. He is just not available anymore. And since he is kind of a nerdy young man, I mechanically I decided that this was going to be basically, okay, this is going to be that time when, and if this was a comic, a ongoing manga, basically this would be the point where the character would, have the training montage, and that would be it. He's going to get stronger, he's going to get wiser, but he's not just going to be doing that. He is a very deeply, you write what you know, and I'm a very deeply esoteric, very deeply nerdy young man. So...
I hate this boss. If there's a part that's going to ruin my run, it's this guy right here.
I don't know. You seem to be giving as good as you get.
I've done like almost no damage
block?
to him. No, there is no block. There is no dodge. That wasn't until Shredder's Revenge.
The
thing with him is he's only vulnerable from behind, and otherwise he will literally just waste your time and block your shots. But if you if you like wail on him while he's defending, he'll just charge you and do a ton of damage.
I see.
And he just goes full Sonic the Hedgehog on you and just like ruins it. If you hit him from above, sometimes I've gotten it to deal damage, but that's not reliable, as you're seeing here.
Well, so ultimately the entire thing was I was thinking to myself, and this was kind of egged on by the professor here. While he's training, he of course is going to be, doing nerd things like playing video games, and of course he's going to be training while doing so. So he's going to be playing a bunch of really, really awful, quarter poppers, and he's going to be getting really, really good at them because that's all. So he'll be, playing these and just, one credit clearing them effectively.
Yep. Oh my god.
Dang. So,
yeah, in some ways, like, Mudman is actually less frustrating, but this is, like, probably the worst boss fight in the game. Like, I cannot get the triangle kick to activate for anything, so I'm really struggling here.
I mean, this is on top of the other things, such as the not, friendship is magic, that kind of took on a life of its own. And I don't even know what to call it now. It's like...
It's really its own weird thing. It's really kind of hard to quantify at this point.
But, and that and Fight Beetle Troopers, which...
Finally.
I think you've used in your own work.
I have. It has been referenced by name at least a couple times.
And what is Fight Beetle Troopers? It's basically Super Sentai. It's American-made Super Sentai.
Yep.
So, you heard it here. You know, the professor's fiction and mine are actually happening in the same universe.
Yep.
And, you know, I'm just going to say it right now. I actually, you know, don't mind if people write, you know, within my own universe. Just don't try and start making up rules. If you do, you know, you gotta play within the rules. You know,
the sandbox may be there for all to play in, but there's rules to the sandbox, and
yeah, exactly.
we start finding, you know, turds in the sandbox, everyone's gonna get banned from it.
Yeah, then the kitty doesn't get to play in the sandbox anymore. And I mean, if you don't like it, well, you know, the beautiful thing is that there is all this great and infinite mental landscape out there. You can make your own thing. So, you know, have at it. It's just, you know, it's one of those things of, I try to allow, you know, I try to add to the you know, imagination landscape rather than, you know, take.
Yep.
So, yes, ultimately that long string of tangents is why Professor is currently trying to one credit clear a very unforgiving game.
A very unforgiving game that I have not practiced at in years.
One raising his blood pressure in so doing. It looks like you're you know, hitting him in the knee. It looks like, yeah, he's holding his knee.
Oh, yeah, that's my sin. Why would you do that?
Why would you do that? Because it's funny. I did that. I thought it was funny.
I think those green archer guys actually only have 1 health, so like you hit them with any one attack, it will destroy them. So like they're really not that bad. In fact, these yellow bomb guys are the same way, but they usually have like ranged weapons. Those bombs do a lot of damage.
You know, you just can't catch a break from the bombs.
Nope. Thankfully, I can get a pizza.
Chroma Squad in this.
Yeah. Yeah. Ah, those yellow frisbee guys are awful. Didn't mean to use my special, but whatever. What's done is done.
You know what I really don't like is back in olden times when, you know, they had a lot of beat 'em ups like this. The entire impetus of like, oh, you use a special attack, but it drains your health.
Yep.
I mean, I understand why the entire point is, you know, they want you to, you know, pop more quarters.
Yep. But it's also really frustrating, and I think the way Shredder's Revenge does it is way better. Now, the one advantage in this fight is you don't have to beat both of them. You actually only need to beat one enemy in this fight, and honestly, Rocksteady has a markedly larger hitbox than Bebop does, so it's easier to just kind of bully him.
Yeah, don't they share one
technically they have 2 health bars, but if you defeat one of them, the other one is just defeated automatically, and it doesn't matter.
Okay.
I'd really like to not lose another life here. Whew. Cut that a little close, but we made it work.
Did he just hit the other?
Yeah, they start slapping each other, and they kind of end up defeating themselves. Yeah, like I said, Slash is probably the hardest boss. I think the only boss that has the potential to really, really push me down will be both this boss and the final one. If I can get past Leatherhead and not completely wipe out, I think I have a pretty good shot at making this. Because you get an extra life every 200 points, so I'm on my way to the next one.
Gotta love how, you know, they're still robots.
Yep. Well, I mean, it wouldn't do to have turtles, like, stabbing actual dudes. Especially not in the late 80s. PTA moms would not like that. It's actually why the turtles really weren't allowed to use their weapons very much in Secret of the Ooze. That's because, like, a bunch of moms were like, oh, why is it so violent? It's like, oh, I don't know, maybe because the series called Ninja Turtles would involve, you know, ninja violence.
No, you don't understand. They need to talk out their problems. Wow, that's really, really boring.
That's really dumb, and no one would watch that.
Not that, certain professors, watched a show that was literally called Friendship is Magic.
To be fair, there were a few instances where they did resolve their problems with violence. I knew you guys were coming.
I'm going to say this. You really want to watch a show that's, or you actually, I would not watch because the Toei anime is awful, but you actually want to watch or read a series that is actually, friendship is magic. Well, I'm going to kill you. Well, you know what? Somebody just, earned themselves a friendship. Wait, what? Laser. Violent friendship laser. The Sailor Moon. And you wouldn't think that. If you've only watched the Toei anime, but things get crazy and in the manga, and the sad part is a lot of it was even kind of censored because it gets, as I say, pretty crazy. And even Japanese television was like, excuse me, this is
We need to tone this down a tiny bit. Could you not?
Like the fact that they had a bit where on the actual concept of entropy drives a man insane, basically makes his daughter into the incarnation of death, and then his entire plan is to basically awaken her power and then just kill everyone on the planet. At which point, basically the Sailor Scouts learn of this and go, wait, we literally have the power of, almighty power. We could just literally let this happen, bring everyone back, and it would be fine. And I think the TV anime kind of glosses over this because they'd be like, excuse me, are you just saying the heroes are going to just allow literal genocide?
Shouldn't do a genocide, okay?
You shouldn't do a genocide, okay? Murder's bad. Mass war crimes are bad, okay?
Yeah,
You should just allow, incarnation of entropy to just kill everyone, okay?
The biggest thing with this fight is you just gotta remember that Leatherhead will, go into his crawl. When he's in his crawl, you can't hurt him, so you just need to get away from him. Also, if you hit that lobster back at him and it catches him, it'll put him in a stun animation for a couple seconds, and he makes a really funny face.
Opposed to in Shredder's Revenge, where he just kind of does whatever he feels like.
He just kind of plays whack-a-mole, yeah.
The punk frogs are just in the back going, woohoo!
No, they're enjoying the roller coaster, they're having fun.
Yeah, they're having a good time. It's kind of a bummer that you can't actually play as them. I thought they were one of the more entertaining aspects of the 87 series.
Yeah, they were fun, and they only showed up in a couple episodes. And Shredder's just like, oh, I'll make my own mutant warriors. It doesn't really go as planned.
Nope.
Alright, now we're going to the future.
Welcome,
2020.
Snek, to the future!
The future of 3 years ago, yes.
Real. Have you gotten checked yet? Have you gotten your coof checked yet? You need to get your mask on.
I checked it this morning, and it's
on. You might have the sickness.
Man.
You gotta get down with the sickness.
We have no cool hoverboards. We have no future highways. We don't have weird, one-man helicopter contraptions. The future is not as advertised.
But you see, Professor, we do have dystopian megacorporations.
Yeah, but we don't even have the cool ones. We have Demolition Man future. We have been given the lamest cyberpunk.
What you're saying
dystopia.
is you want, Shadowrun future where it's like, hello, I'd like to go to the handgun store where I
can get a really, really cheap handgun from Ares for maybe $250.
I'd like to go to the cyborg arms store. It gets the cyborg arm out of a vending machine.
I just want, you know, a cool cyber arm, and some cyber legs, and an implant that just lets me plug my brain into my TV to watch whatever I want.
It's just so I can watch scientific videos.
Yes, for research purposes, of course.
Oh, and the feels wouldn't know, you know, thick Japanese elf waifu.
Nah, you can keep your white elf waifus. I would go with me for a troll woman.
You are going to die, and I will laugh, and then go, ha ha ha, oh, he died.
That makes me sad. A little.
But it's still kind of funny, though.
It's still kind of funny. Face the rat, I'm Super Krang. I got my body. Yeah, you sure do. The annoying thing in this fight is, first off, is missiles.
Neutrinos, Saki, you imbecile!
The most annoying thing in this fight is once he takes a little damage, he'll do this thing where he just kind of like burps out these red orb things, and like you can't hurt him during that animation, so you just kind of got to get out of the way and like just not get hit.
You know, I gotta wonder if Shredder basically made it so that he looks like a he looks like every fat, you know, sitcom dad, and the fact that it's like he has a head and no neck.
Yep, here it comes. Just mind the shadows.
I mean, you gotta be like, I gotta wonder if he's just like, that'll show that, you know, fool. He thinks he can just tell me whatever he wants me to do.
You know,
well, I'm making him look really, really goofy.
I can't say that would even surprise me. Yeah, okay, here's the thing I hate in action games, is just, I'm wailing on the boss. It's like, oops, I went into a particular animation, and now just for no reason whatsoever, I'm taking no damage. I hate that. I hate that so much.
I mean, he just gets super armor.
Yeah, and they're just like not taking any damage at all for like, and there's no justification for it. Like, Stone, like for Nightman, it makes sense because you see a visual change that he's turning into solid stone, and that's fine. So I know, okay, don't attack him then, wait for him to change back. But then if I'm just wailing on some guy, and he's like, oops, I'm in this particular animation, so now nothing hurts me. I'm like, this
the reason
is
why,
dumb.
honestly, I find people who only conveniently seem to employ boss characters are kind of the worst. Because it just happens that a lot of these boss characters, just have animations that just make them immune to damage.
And
so,
that's dumb.
Yes, certain people who will remain unnamed really enjoy boss characters. You know, just like, well, you just got to get better at the game. It's like, yeah, well, that may be so, but, you know, you're literally playing as that guy. Well, I don't know that. You know, maybe you should learn the lore of the games you actually play.
Would go a long way, is what we're saying.
I mean, I know Guilty Gear lore is nuts, but I mean, I think that's part of the charm, honestly.
It is. It is. 'Cause it's just zany. That's the thing. I am one of those weirdos who will play a game for its story. Like, I was actually pretty invested in the actual story of Mortal Kombat until they tried to turn it into a political analogy.
You know, well, the fact that haven't they effectively rebooted it twice?
Several times. They rebooted it at least a couple times now, and the most recent one was also a reboot.
Yeah, so they rebooted it with 9 because they're like, yeah, that didn't happen. And I'm like, well, okay. And then I want to say they just rebooted it with the last one, which it just happens to be called Mortal Kombat 1 again. And it's like, oh, because that's not going to be confusing at all.
Nope.
Do you ever think that after a certain point, you know, certain developers, certain creatives should just stop and, like, you know, realize, or like, yeah, you know, I probably shouldn't be allowed to, like, I've created something and I probably shouldn't be allowed to just, like, mess it up.
You know, you would think, given how many times we have situations like that.
I get that sense from Ed Boon, because, like, he honestly, I like the Mortal Kombat series. It is absolutely nuts.
Yeah.
But I get the sense that it's like he's just kind of gone loopy, and he doesn't kind of realize
Wow. I have never seen it do that before.
What?
I was standing above where the ball went, Because I was always under the impression that it would just go to the left. But I was standing above it, and now it's bouncing infinitely, which is not something I knew it could do. I've, like, in all my years of playing this game, I've never caused that to happen before.
You glitched the game. The Matrix is collapsing.
Like, I knew you could deflect them with your weapons, so I knew there was some kind of bounce physics behind it, but, like, I legit did not know you could do that.
Now, aren't the rock soldiers, like, living organisms?
Yeah, that's their species. They're literally just
those are
happen to be
allowed,
made out of
you're allowed
rocks.
to kill them.
Yeah, but they're not human, so who cares?
But what about the robots, though? You're allowed to kill them. What, robot lives matter, too.
No, they don't.
You heard it here, folks.
Okay, like, here's the thing. I am a tech guy. I think technology is amazing and awesome, and we should progress, even if just for progress's sake. But the way people treat AI and the way that they want to just, like, slam it into everything, I'm like, no, you know what? Maybe the Luddites had a fair point. Maybe we are being dumb about this.
Are you
maybe.
saying that Butlerian jihad was justified? Are you saying that, thinking machines are a sin against the primacy of humanity?
It does seem like a terrible idea, does it not?
Yeah, but it's even worse?
What's that?
Brian Herbert trying to make, the Butlerian jihad from a socio-economic, revolution into literally actually Star Wars.
I always kind of got, like, I thought it had, like, more like a Skynet thing going on. Like, the Terminator films.
Yeah, it kind of was, but the problem is that it basically is like, yes, this computer network basically gained sentience, and then took everything over. And oh, by the way, there are these warlords that basically control all of humanity. And so you have these cyborg, like, Deathwalker robot, warlords that the network can just, they basically have enslaved. And so it effectively becomes like, if Skynet effectively had, like, the Nazgul from Lord of the Rings.
Right.
Except that it's worse than that, because Sauron actually had, like, a plan. Omnius never has a plan apart from, oh, I'm just gonna take everything over, lol.
Yeah, that is one of those things where, like, I'm not against campy villains or villains that are kind of directionless, but, like, why do people want to rule the world? Like, ultimately, wouldn't that just be, like, the biggest logistical pain in the butt ever?
Well, see, the problem is, and people don't understand this, is the entire reason... Well, first off, Sauron was just trying to regain his power, and ultimately was trying to corrupt the world, because his master... Okay, for people who have only seen the movies, Sauron is not the Great Dark Lord. He is actually one of many lieutenants of the actual, real, honest-to-goodness Dark Lord.
Read the Silmarillion, it explains everything.
Yeah, and effectively he is like the little tiny fanboy of basically Space Satan.
Yep.
Who, honestly, is one of the goofiest, most maudlin people in pretty much in fantasy, where his wife is a spider. He lusts after these star fruit gems because he thinks they're pretty and he cannot create them anything like them himself. So he basically decides to screw over his brothers and sisters, the other fellow angels, because he wants to be the only one to control these basically star gems. And in so doing, he basically ruins the world.
Okay, I have to play my cards very carefully here.
I'm sorry,
Basically, this guy has... No, it's like, this guy has 3 attacks. And the colored aura he has before he does it is what attack he's about to do.
He looks like he's using Nanto Seiken.
Like, okay, if he uses the, like, orange aura, he's about to shoot fire on the ground, so you want to get behind him, which is not easy because he's fast. If he turns blue, he shoots upwards, so you want to attack from the ground, which is the safest time to attack him. If he turns green, he's going to use an instant kill attack that you just need to not be in the way of. But
yeah, honestly though, he looks like he's using Nanto Seiken, and I'm just like, you know, I'm just waiting for him to be like, "You will die, Kenshiro."
I mean, you're not wrong. Like, the actual Shredder, not 87 Shredder, like, the actual canon Shredder is a ninja master who has actually tapped into, like, legit ancient ninja magic and can do, like, absolutely crazy, devastating things to you if he lands a hit on you.
The second part is that, you know, they kill him off really quickly.
They do, but they actually do bring him back, but part of that was from the whole perspective of, oh, this is a one-off, we're not going to do anything with this, so it's okay if we kill our main villain. So yeah, they had to get a little bit creative, which is why stuff like the sci-fi space travel stuff happens like way earlier in the comics than you might expect.
Well, that and the fact that, I mean, it's very clear that Eastman and Laird are big fans of 80s Marvel, and I you know, part of what I dislike about the MCU is the fact that it kind of ignores the fact that, like, classic Marvel is pretty nuts in terms of, you know, they'll just be like, okay guys, we're gonna be, you know, stopping Magneto from trying to steal the Statue of Liberty. Alright, now we're gonna fight, you know, the Kree and the Skrulls in space. Why? Do we need a reason?
Nope. Well, that's the thing. The Silver Age, people like to poke fun, but the Silver Age at least was fun for comics. And, like, part of the impetus for the creation of the Turtles was poking fun at just how dark the 90s were in terms of
it wasn't
comics.
The 90s, it was
the late 70s, early 80s.
Yeah, that period with Frank Miller and
a lot of the Daredevil run at that time.
Yeah, Frank Miller's Daredevil run and a lot of the Wolverine.
Yeah, the X-Men
which
stuff.
is actually funny because DC actually poked fun at how, like, maudlin and goofy Wolverine got at that point. That's actually where we got Lobo from, and Lobo was awesome.
Lobo is great. I love him. Characters that aren't, like, the characters that are, like, sillier like that are so much more entertaining than the likes of Batman.
Now, I gotta say though, you gotta take that with a penchant of, you know, the entire thing with characters that are goofy like that. You gotta use them sparingly, and you cannot. They don't really work well unless you kind of acknowledge the fact that, you know, they basically are lampooning things that exist as tropes in the world. So, unfortunately, as much as I love, you know, the original Squirrel Girl, she really would never work as her own main character because her entire thing is she wins battles
off screen
that are off screen. So she's incredibly powerful, but only when you do not actually see how she fought people. She only won one battle against people on screen, and it literally consisted of her throwing a squirrel at them getting surprised, falling backwards into the machine that they were going to use to blow up the world. The machine blows up, and she's like, "We saved the world!" And it's like, you got lucky.
Yep.
And I refuse to read any of the modern Squirrel Girl because, holy crap, the art in that makes me physically ill, and I am legally blind.
Now, you know how... Okay, here's an olive branch, DC. You know how you can get me to see one of your movies? Do Plastic Man.
Oh, that would be awesome.
Do a Plastic Man movie. I might actually care.
The problem is, though, is modern DC is run by people who seem to be of the opinion that, you know, hey guys, you know what's the best part of, you know, DC? Watchmen. You know what's the best part about Watchmen? How dark and serious and, you know, just violent and sexual it all is. It's like, you know,
yeah, it's like they blamed the Green Lantern movie, and they're like, oh, you know what the problem with Green Lantern was? It had jokes in it. That was obviously the problem. I'm like, no, it had a script written by committee. That was the problem.
That and the fact that it really... there's so many cool things that they could have done with it, and they basically did one of the worst arcs of the comics.
And they did it in a weird way. Like, it wasn't even a good
Yeah,
way of introducing
could
Parallax.
actually, see, here's the thing, like, they could have actually have done Parallax, but see, Parallax would be like Green Lantern 3. When you establish Hal Jordan, and you want to up the ante, you want to add new characters, and then you could have added, like, Guy Gardner, and Kyle Rayner, and even, what's his name?
John Stewart.
John Stewart. Yeah, you could have actually added them, and so, like, you know, Hal Jordan's going mad with power, and then it would be like, oh, you know, we Guardians need to bring some more Green Lanterns in order to fight Parallax. I know, we'll just throw a bunch of green rings at Earth, because Earthlings seem to be really good at this stuff. And that's when you could, you know, have Guy Gardner and all those other guys show up. And they could kind of, you know, at that point, then, you know, Hal, you know, redeems himself at the climax, and then they all basically, you know, do the you know, team Kamehameha at the end in order to destroy Parallax, and they all save the day.
Yeah.
And then, see, then the fourth movie could be really cool, because then you'd have all these cool characters.
You would have the chance to, like, actually introduce them.
Yeah. No, but, you know, Parallax, he's just this really ugly...
He's an ugly cloud thing that has no explanation whatsoever.
You know, honestly, I really, really hated that era of comic book movies.
Did it?
You know, we get Galactus, you know, except he's a cloud. Basically, it's shooting lasers at clouds in space.
Yep. And they couldn't even put some green spandex on Ryan Reynolds. No, they just... We're gonna CG his costume on. But why?
Mommy, there's a literal Bratman right there! The Skaven are coming!
No, don't worry, Jamie. He's just a furry.
He's... my God! Well, congratulations, you actually did it. I'm kind of surprised. While we were ranting about how crap the DC cinematic universe was. Too.
Yeah, I was playing it pretty safe in that last fight because I did not want to get hit with his green attack, because that auto kills you if it touches you.
Huh.
So I was really pulling my my opportunities to hit. But yeah, no, it was a fun challenge, and to revisit this game after all these years and feeling how out of practice I was definitely an interesting one. But no, it was fun. I enjoyed it, and technically did it, so that's cool. I was a little worried there because Slash like took me down from like 6 lives to like 2, so that wasn't a pleasant surprise.
Hey, Professor, remember when Konami made video games?
Yeah, I remember. Yeah,
Remember
when they did games and not just... Yeah, I was just about to say, it's like Yu-Gi-Oh! And Pachinko, and like, it took them forever to even get around to, like, bundling their old games to re-release. Like, even that took them forever. Now, here's a fun bit of trivia, is the Turtles originally were going to be given Japanese names. But this was pre-internet days, and they didn't really know very many male Japanese names. So they were like, hey, what if we did precisely the opposite and gave them like very Western-inspired names? And since they were both art majors, they chose to name them after Renaissance painters.
Huh.
Dad, you didn't help at all. Why are you getting a mention in the credits?
Son, you'll learn when you're older.
Yeah, Roadkill Rodney. I hate dealing with those guys.
You know, I was reminded of your favorite bowling game just now.
Really? How so?
I was like, yeah, you know, there's that one, because I was thinking about it, because I was playing Dead or Alive earlier,
Right.
and thinking about, how you had mentioned that you wanted to do a fighting game month again, and I'm like, yeah, you should play, we started talking about other games you could do, and I'm like, oh yeah, that one bowling game you really like.
Yeah, Tekken 7, that for some reason has this weird fighting game minigame tied to it.
Yeah, a really comprehensive fighting game minigame.
Yeah, it's weird they tied it to a bowling game, but I mean, whatever, it's all good. They wanted to do something
It's kind of
different.
like, how Virtua Fighter 5 has, this weird Japanese gangster game attached to it. Also, I gotta say, speaking of Dead or Alive 6, I've been playing King of Fighters for a long time, almost 20 years now. And I hate to say that I feel really stupid because I just realized yesterday the fact that Kula Diamond, the young girl who has ice powers, her name is Kula
Kula, yes.
Diamond. Yes. And I did not get that. I have been playing since about 2002. Yes.
Hiding in plain sight.
Yes. Those things.
Yep, that's what that green ball does, by the way. You get turned back into a baby turtle. Congratulations, you have completed your training. And are now true ninjas, unnecessary apostrophe.
Ninjas. That kind of reminds me of the Breath of Fire 2. Oh, that would be a good Snek Blaze.
What, BOF2?
Yeah. I can see it in my head, you just going, no.
Ah, man, I'm having so much fun. Oh, this is the part where I have to get Spar. I'm not having fun anymore. Anyway, that is the end of the game.
I'm very old.
So,
That's unfortunate. I'm farsighted. Oh no.
that dungeon. At any rate, thank you for issuing me this challenge, as it was a fun one to revisit.
Huh.
And,
I didn't
maybe
actually
I'll-
think you were going to do it, so,
No,
egg on my face.
at first I was joking, but then I was like, you know what? Maybe that's a good idea. Maybe I should. So, no, that was just fun. And maybe we can do some more like retro challenges like that at some point, and that could be good fun. Anyway, thanks for joining me here, and we'll see you guys in the next one.
See you later.